What's going on, everybody? I am so excited for another episode of To Be Honest. We've been using this time to highlight the humanity of leaders, influencers, those in our lives and around us in our world who are ultimately responsible for guiding others. But the truth of the matter is, we all take our personal journeys and our own experience with us. And I'm excited today to have with us a fresh face, someone who is new to our staff, but a great guy, been hanging out with us now for some years. So I'm excited to introduce you to our youth pastor, ALVIN Hamilton. What's going on, bro? How you feeling?
What's going on? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you looking? You look good today. You got a matching
Yeah, I'm trying to get like you.
tan outfit on. We need to switch shoes. I need that outfit for my shoes. You know what I'm saying? But you look brown.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
No, man. Super grateful to have you. Before we go forward, I know there are many people who watch this particular season, and they're members of our church. But for those who are not, who are like, yo, who is this? What is he? Tell everybody a little about who you are, what you do at our church. Yeah. But in addition to that, kind of how you got here. Like, tell us a little bit about your journey into becoming a youth pastor.
Cool. So my name is ALVIN Hamilton. I was born in New Haven, Connecticut, but moved to Richmond, Virginia for college. Spent a couple months in college, but really felt the call of God on my life to pursue ministry full time. So I left college my freshman year, started hanging out at TLC, became an intern, and that transitioned into a middle school leader. And from then became a youth pastor. Yeah. So it's been a crazy last 2 years, but I'm here now.
That's what's up. Well, ALVIN definitely was. I mean, the internship was great. Shouts out to the whole crew. And ALVIN just kind of was like hanging around. Like, he literally was like, yo, what y'all need? Y'all need some help today? I'm showing up. You riding somewhere? I'll help you drive. Like, and so I've always appreciated, man, your humility, your heart. It's just always been great to get to know you. And we are, I would say this, we probably pick on ALVIN. Well, he's the little brother of the staff. And so we give him a hard time, but he is a great leader, and we're so excited to have you. He's also serving as our community engagement and outreach coordinator. And so doing so much, man. You got a full plate.
Yeah,
personally. You got a girlfriend?
I don't. No
All right,
girlfriend.
Cool.
I'm not looking.
The people want to know. I mean, the people want, it says, you're going to start off with To Be Honest. He light skinned, his beard coming in, and he got on a Yeezy outfit.
I'm weak.
I just feel like the people wanted to know. They said, be honest about that. So we got that out of the way. I don't know if that served you well or not. It might be more attention than needed. But part of the reason we're having this conversation today, we could probably take a lot of different directions. But as an individual, we've had a lot of candid conversations here as a staff, and particularly around the fact of you are, I believe, the only Generation Z on our staff. So you got, Generation X and Generation X and then Millennial, but you're the only Gen Z.
Only one. So
let's start with, what is that like, being the only Generation Z on a church staff?
It's fun, but it's also, it can be difficult sometimes. I think the highs of it is I'm the little brother for everyone. Yeah. So everyone's a protector. Everyone makes sure, is ALVIN okay? We all want ALVIN to win. We all want to see ALVIN be successful. But sometimes being the little brother can kind of turn into, do I have to prove a point? Do I have to make sure I can run with the big dogs? Do I have to stand or be able to speak the way everyone else speaks? Yeah. So I definitely say it's a good balance of pushing me, but also protecting me.
Yeah, absolutely. And the answer is yes, you have to prove that you can run with the big dogs. No, I'm just playing. No, that's such a great point. And I'm certain that there are other organizations and people who are navigating the same reality, right? Like, you're coming in with different perspectives.
Right.
It's interesting because I think even being 12 years apart, from 32 to 20, there's so much different about your world and my world already. Like, as a young family and 2 kids, even down to like, you have grown up. We were talking about this. If you haven't seen The Social Dilemma, you got to check that out on Netflix. We were talking about the fact of you legitimately were born into social media.
Absolutely.
I remember, all my millennials, just show me some love right here. I remember when we got to college, social media wasn't like at our palm of our hand and on our fingertips. We had Facebook, I made a Facebook account right before I went to college because I lost a bet. But it wasn't widespread, and it wasn't like a necessity. And furthermore, like a necessity when you got to college when I moved in was an Ethernet cord because
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, disrespectful. No, I mean an Ethernet cord essentially connected to your computer, and then you had to run it to an outlet or a jack in the wall somewhere in the room. So you had to always buy a cord long enough because you didn't know where the bed was going to be in your dorm in relationship to where the jack was going to be. And that was the only way you get on the internet. Or when I was in high school, it was dial-up. So every time you got on the internet, you were taking up a phone line.
Right.
So my mom would be like, well, you got to go to the internet. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just crazy because if we wanted to get a direct message or something, we had to go back to our room. It wasn't like we just picked up our phone in the middle of the comments. So, but you were born into this.
I was born into social media.
Yeah. So how has that served you, just like if you look at life, and again, it's not good, bad, or indifferent, what is your take on the world as far as social media? How does that serve you in life? Or what is your perception of how it's connecting people or serving people now?
Yeah, so I think one part of it is complicated because I don't know a world without it. So the only world I know is MySpace, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, things like that. But I can tell how easily manipulated even myself can be from simply just picking up my phone and the first thing you do is check Instagram.
Yeah.
And then you end up being there for 2 hours. So I would say one part is, wow, this is really bad for me. But the second part is, I don't know anything else but social media.
That's legit. No, wow, that's real. Let's turn a corner here because a conversation happened between you and I recently that kind of prompted this particular episode, and it was the first presidential debate of this particular election, which we all know at this point is the final candidates are Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And I watched all night. We were in different places, but you text me afterwards and said a couple of things. We'll get to that in a second. But before we get to kind of what you took away from that, how is social media informing? This is your first election.
First election.
You can vote in.
Yep. And first debate that I've ever watched. First debate.
Yikes. Oh, God. To be honest, this is not a good starting point for you. You got to be honest. So let me start with the bridge from social media to the idea of you participating in your first kind of democratic process. How is social media informing your conversations with your peers and the conversation of Gen Z around voting and just kind of the electoral process?
Honestly, it's not informing us because you don't know what's being said, if it's factual or if it's somebody's opinion or somebody's bias. So you can take everything you see on social media, start an argument, watch a debate, and realize everything you thought you knew was completely incorrect. So it's definitely dangerous when you try to take information from social media and create an argument around it because you have no clue where it's coming from.
Wow. That's such a good answer and a scary one. And I promise y'all, like, we did not have this, like, we knew we were going to have a conversation about this, but I'm like, that's crazy to think about it. Like, you don't know where to build an argument from.
Right.
So, in light of that then, like, all right, there's insecurity and all information I'm getting. Would you even say your generation is going to be just, like, lead with skepticism?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like,
absolutely.
So what's that like in your world? Like, you see something on social media that is about the democratic process or our democracy rather, not Democrat as far as a party.
Right, for sure.
Let me make sure we clarify that. But like the democracy that we're in, what is your like first reaction? What do you do? How do you find out information? How do you or do you just say, I'm just good, I'm not even gonna try to find out? Like, how do you fact check it?
Honestly, you take what you see, and it's almost like you take what you see, and if you want to believe it, you'll believe it. And if you don't want to believe, you say, okay, I'm going to throw that part out, which is still dangerous.
Yeah.
Because even the things you want to believe about a person, about a party, may still be incorrect.
Yeah. So your first presidential debate ever, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, at this point, at this airing, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. I don't even know. Maybe when your episode comes, maybe we would have had a second one. I don't know. What was your impression? What did you take away? What did you learn?
What I learned was that even presidents and vice presidents are still people. And they're still normal and they still have emotions. And you have to be careful about how you allow somebody's emotions to feed you what's going to be best for the country, in my opinion. I think that from the debate, again, my first debate, I saw people. I saw normal people up there having an argument about stuff that had nothing to do with the presidential election. And I think even that, it makes it more confusing because you're saying, okay, I'm watching this debate to learn. 'Cause I can't trust what I see on social media. But now I watch the debate and it's not anything about what we're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah.
So it's like, where do I go now? I learned nothing. That was the question.
That man said, let me clarify. I learned nothing. I don't know if I have even a better solution for you. Like, I'm legitimately, I think part of what made this episode so necessary, because I was like, I guess my question to you is, do you feel like your experience is representative of all of your peers? Like, do you feel like that's what you're hearing? Like, it's just like, I don't know where to even begin.
Absolutely. I think everybody who's in my age group or even younger are at a space where we're saying we don't know what to believe. We don't know how to respond. We don't even know necessarily who to vote for. We're so confused. We're confused about what's even happening in the country. And we're confused about which leader is correct, which leader is lying, which leader has integrity, which leader is just putting on the front.
Wow. That's crazy.
And I think even for us, not having any prior experience to what a debate or even an election is supposed to look like, we can't say, okay, well, this person is wrong because this person did it like this in the past. We don't know. We've never been in that situation before.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting for me because, and I think for anybody watching this, maybe there's some boomer watching this or Generation X, like, wow, that's crazy, starting to hear it from a different generational landscape because so much has changed so fast.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a millennial proper, like in the heart of millennials. And my first election I could ever vote in was Barack Obama, which I still remember. All my BCU hit. I still remember voting for Barack Obama. I was in college, and when Barack won, I remember like we flooded the streets. The police didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
We took over light poles and neighborhoods. I mean, it was crazy. That like the stuff I did that night should have disqualified me from being a pastor, to be quite honest. Like, to be honest, okay? Like, it was just so celebratory and crazy, and I just remember crying and being inspired, and even down to how I prepared for the election. I mean, in full transparency, I tell people, like, I don't know if I ever had to fully engage in the process or the electoral process mentally and emotionally until the previous election. Because my first two, Barack Obama was involved in. And I don't know if that necessarily, if I'm being candid, inspired me to necessarily be informed as much as it was like, hey, don't disappoint the generations that have come before you.
Absolutely.
Who sacrificed so much, who've been water hosed and bit by dogs and made so many sacrifices to make it possible for you to have this opportunity. Like, how dare you not vote? And how dare you not vote for a person of color? So, in full transparency, while I approached the process of voting from a position of, I kind of had already had my mind made up, it still was a time of inspiration. And I still was able to, I watched debates with pride. And I watched with open ears and open heart, and I was glued because it just felt like it. Even looking at the present times, like, can we just be honest? Like, even the Republican nominees were articulate and they were able to communicate a position that I still had to listen to and absorb and wrestle with and say, okay, yeah, I mean, Barack Obama is black, but okay, I can see that side of the argument. For 8 years, I had that. And then the last election, I had to like kind of hunker down and be like, okay, now let me really evaluate some deeper positions and deeper economic impacts and implications. But man, I could not imagine if this was my first one. So I say all that to say, you text me after the words and said something that it both grieved me, but it also was like, man, this is the honest truth. And that was, you said, this makes me not even want to vote. Now you said, I am going to vote.
I am going to vote.
All right, make sure people hear you say that.
I am going to vote.
But you said it makes me not want to vote. Can you just unpack a little bit? What were you feeling in that moment when the debate was over that made you be in that position, in that posture?
So I think I had two motivations for making that statement. I think one kind of refers to what you were talking about. I think for me, I don't feel represented in this election at all. Whether one party is for black people or not for black people, from watching the debate, it seems like nobody necessarily represents me and what I stand for or who I am as a person. I think the second piece of that is the election right now has become, in my opinion, more about character and less about politics. So politics have now been taken out of the picture, and it's a debate about who's the better person, who's not lying, who has integrity. And I think that's difficult because although I believe that every leader should have integrity and character, you should be up there because you have integrity and character, not who has the most integrity or character. I don't feel like we should be voting for the person who's the best honest or most honest person. You both should be honest, and we should be voting about who's going to make the country better.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, one, I'm not represented well, and two, the main thing isn't the main thing anymore.
Boy, that was let me tell you something. Let me tell y'all something. To be honest, that was a heck of an answer. That was a great answer. I don't know if I really have a comeback. And honestly, that probably sums up this whole episode. Is I am grieved. I mean, keeping it a buck, like, I'm grieved for every single person of your peer group who this is their first exposure and experience. I feel like it's a disservice to you guys. I feel like it's unfortunate. I feel like it's a misrepresentation of what our democracy is supposed to represent and be about. I hate that you don't get the same opportunity of joy and inspiration and investment that I received when I was first capable being a part of the political process in this way. I guess I got two more questions for you then. In light of that, what do you do? Where do you go from here? Like, so like, what is your honest next step? Like, all right, Vernon, if I'm being honest, this is what I'm going to do. How do you plan to navigate your life from now to November 3rd?
Yeah. I think for me, it's about just doing research. And really for me, research looks like having conversations like this. Saying, hey, what was it like before 2016? What was the economy? What was the presidential debates or election like before this moment? Just so I can have some background as to what it's supposed to be and not what it is right now. I do think that it's still a struggle and still something that even my generation has to process. Because it's almost like we don't want to vote for either one of you, but we have to settle for somebody. So really, it's difficult. And we still don't know. We still don't know where to go. We don't know who to ask questions to. We don't know where to get information from still.
Yeah. Man. Well, I think you've helped a lot of people, and I don't know if you feel this or not, but I think part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation, because I think it's just illuminating. And it's going to be exposing for a lot of people who this wasn't their starting point. Right? It's one thing for you to be like, man, how do we get here? It's another thing for it to be like, this is somebody's starting point. I do want to tell you, like, this is not the way it's supposed to look. This is not the way it's supposed to sound. And I do believe that there's a better picture of our country on both sides than what we're seeing right now. I think it's also important and imperative to name and note that as you begin to be influential to even your peers, I think we're going to have to constantly work together to help Gen Z and the generations to come find not only trust in the political process, which is hard for even millennials sometimes right now, but also a measure of buy-in that we can't afford not to vote. Let me ask you this last question, particularly as an African American male. Because I think so much of this election, you mentioned, is about character, integrity. There's also a lot of racial implications. A lot of, call it for what it is, race baiting. But much of which is been boiling under the surface for a long time, and legitimately so. And there are a lot of people going to say, hey, Alvin, you've said a couple times through this conversation, I don't know who to vote for. And there's somebody who might say, well, why not? You know what I'm saying? Help somebody understand, like, when you say, I don't know who to vote for, where's your heart's posture at, particularly as an African-American man, as you process your own experiences in this country in alignment with your vote on November 3rd?
Yeah. So I think for me, if I can be very honest, just talking about my situation, my circumstances, I grew up around all black people my entire life.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily have firsthand contact, or I've never had firsthand experience with racism. Do I believe racism exists? Absolutely. Have I experienced it myself? I could have, but I did not know it's racism. But let me make it very clear. I know when I see a person talk about certain things, stand up or stand by, that something can be racist, something's not racist.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm very clear about that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that my perception of who to vote for is based upon, is somebody racist, is somebody not racist. For me, it's like, yes, this person is racist, but just because you're not racist doesn't mean that you're still a good person. You still have integrity.
Yeah.
And I don't think that my vote is going to be based upon who has the most integrity.
Yeah.
I think my vote is going to be based upon who's going to lead the country in the best direction.
Yeah.
And I don't believe racism or promoting racism or defending racism is what's going to be best for the country.
Yeah, and just for clarity, Alvin and I talked before this, and as a church, we are not allowed to legally to promote any candidate.
For sure.
So that's why we're approaching this conversation. As much as this is, to be honest, there are legal implications.
Right.
So we're not allowed to promote any particular candidate. We want you to know you just need to vote.
Absolutely.
And everybody needs to vote, even if you feel uninspired, even if you feel like, man, I just don't know what I'm voting for.
Right.
And I think also, let me say this in alignment with your last statement, that I even feel, I don't feel like either one of these candidates, is the best selection for our country. And I think, to be honest, I feel the weight of that decision. I absolutely know everything. I know what doesn't reflect me personally, without a shadow of a doubt. But I also, feel like that this is, honestly, just a really, really tough place for our country to be in, particularly around the representation we'll have for the next 4 years. So I think we're on the same page about that. I think at the end of the day, my hope is that as we have conversations like these, we're able, though, to find our way forward and to fully endorse or to cast a vote and support a candidate in the future that we feel like is going to move our country into a more unified and quite frankly healthier position. I'm really grateful for this conversation.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you would say to your peers to say, hey, together, this is where we go? Like, that sounds like such a campaign thing to say. Together, we will. But what would you just say to your peer who's saying, I'm not going to vote? Like, I'm not going to vote because makes no sense. They're probably even saying something like, this is dumb.
For sure.
What would you say to your peer before we go?
I would say, number one, make sure you vote. But two, don't allow your social media experience to be the determining factor of who or what you're voting for.
Yeah.
Make sure you do your own research. Make sure you are watching the debates, whether we have more or not. And don't just take your news from social media or from Instagram, because it's not helpful.
That's good, man. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having this conversation. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of To Be Honest. And we hope that you continue to do everything that Alvin just said. Let's all be a part of the process, and let's ensure that we do our part to ensure that our own local communities, local elections, and every layer. And that's one thing I will say, like, we'll be talking a lot in the years to come about how do we participate not just in the national election, but in our local election and in other areas of politics that more even directly affect us in a communal way. But I definitely want you to be a part of the process so that we can all be a part of creating a better country, better community, and a better world for the generation to come. I love y'all, and to be honest, it's been real good hanging out.